Y'all know who it is. Up next, he's a second generation cultivator and the founder of Special Teams Consulting. Up next, it's the Sebastopol stage himself, Yarrow Cooper.
Man, I am never going to be able to live up to an introduction as passionate as that. But good morning, good morning, good morning. Super stoked to be on here with this esteemed group of panelists. And here's my article for High at 9 News on this beautiful Monday, September 4th. California Cannabis Repeal, a Humboldt County study. It's no secret that the cannabis industry is on a steep decline in a variety of states, including California. We have time and again written about the specific woes plaguing the California cannabis industry. High taxes, a staggering credit crunch and collection problems, receiverships, rampant local prohibition, overregulation by the state, and a raging illegal market are just a few. Now cue the California cannabis voters who may have initially supported this democratic experiment but are now thinking twice about local laws and rules permitting commercial cannabis activity in their borders. Cannabis repeal may be on the horizon. Cannabis NIMBYs. The term not in my backyard neighborhood NIMBY has obvious negative connotations. Of course, cannabis NIMBYs are not unique in California. They're everywhere in cannabis. Years ago, we wrote a post about how to deal with them and their tactics. Essentially, NIMBYs thrive on confrontation and manufacturing lots of arguments to eliminate or stop progress when it comes to cannabis business development. They'll even go so far as to form plaintiff groups to sue local governments, and cannabis businesses go on any possible grounds, including and usually alleging environmental issues or violations of due process rights in the creation of cannabis laws. In turn, cannabis businesses are wise to be transparent as possible with all their neighbors as well as their local governments and to keep constant contact with regulators in order to avoid inadvertent regulatory violations. But what happens when you make it past the initial NIMBYs only to find yourself at their mercy years after you've already set up shop? California Cannabis Repeal. Blah, blah, blah. When I practice there, thank you for making the article about you, editing out the narcissism, Humboldt County. I read this article by Lester Black of SF Gate. The Emerald Triangle in California is universally known for its cannabis quality and generational cannabis farmers. And that especially includes Humboldt County. It was one of the first local governments to regulate cannabis farmers in the state post-legalization back in 2018. Now, its entire local industry is going to face a potential death knell posed by a March 2024 vote on a new initiative that heavily restricts the existing industry while essentially eliminating any more farms from setting up. Here's a copy of the initiative. According to the initiative website, the proposed amendment would, quote, reduce the cannabis cultivation footprint, promote healthy environments in rural communities, ensure public involvement, and protect truly small-scale, environmentally minded cannabis farmers. Backers of the initiative state on their website that due to the county's initial planning and current laws, quote, there are now over 1,000 legally permitted operations, most of which are in stark contrast to small-scale organic hippie farming of previous decades. The newly emerging cannabis culture represents a more industrialized mega-grow approach with heated and ventilated grow lights, 24/7 grow houses, extensive use of water, and loud generators. Further, per the initiative's website, quote, incursions of mega grows into rural residential, agricultural, and woodland areas has been received with considerable anger and bitterness by the rural public. One reason for this is that the county's ordinance 2.0 precluded the most effective rural residents from being notified that a mega grow would be setting up next door to them. Such disregard has been taken to be demeaning and disrespectful, leaving residents little, if any, recourse to complain or to go through the pain and expense of difficult litigation. And residents cite issues of health, safety, welfare, dangerous traffic, harassment by growers, and harm to the environment and natural beauty. A particular concern has been diversion of stream and well water that takes critical water from the residents and ranchers, as well as from watersheds and ecosystems where water deprivation impacts animal and plant habitats. Strong objections have been made about the constant night lights and generator noise that disrupts residents' lives and that impacts wildlife, including the northern spotted owl. The proposed 38-page initiative called the Humboldt Cannabis Reform Initiative represents a massive overhaul to existing Humboldt County cannabis laws. Perhaps most importantly, this initiative would limit cannabis farms to no more than 10,000 feet, which would make about 400 currently permitted farms non-conforming uses under the initiative, and the number of permits issued would be capped at no more than 1,200, valid for only 1 year before renewal. Further, a business could not have multiple cultivation permits on a single parcel. That's called stacking. No generators would be allowed except for one for emergency use only, and all neighbors of a cultivation site would have to be notified beforehand that a grow was coming in. Lastly, for existing growers to come into compliance with the proposed initiative, they'd have to enact a laundry list of expensive changes or be rendered non-conforming and eventually shut down. The county's reaction to de facto cannabis repeal. The county planning department's analysis of the initiative is incredibly interesting. Early in its analysis, the planning department writes, quote, the initiative purports to protect the county's residents and natural resources from harm caused by large-scale cannabis cultivation. It does this by developing a regulatory system that renders most existing permitted farms non-conforming. The analysis goes on to state the largest farms in Humboldt County range between 7 and 8 acres. There are 4 farms this size. For comparison, in Lake County, there are farms in excess of 60 acres, 60, and in Santa Barbara and San Bernardino counties, there are farms in excess of 100 acres. In a statewide market context, Humboldt County does not have large-scale farms. Essentially, the county is claiming that there is no real mega farms in Humboldt County at this point in time, and that the public does not understand what the initiative would do and sign the petition thinking that large-scale cannabis farms should not be in Humboldt County, without recognizing that most of the so-called large-scale farms that would be outlawed if this initiative passed are the very farms that have existed in Humboldt County for decades. It seems that the planning department does not support the passage of the initiative, and that's what it relayed to the County Board of Supervisors. What's next in Humboldt? Undoubtedly, between now and March, both proponents and opponents of this initiative will undertake education campaigns for and to the public. The very big legal takeaway, though, is that Humboldt will not be the last stand or instance where local voters initially embraced cannabis legalization only to change their minds down the road. We could see major overhauls or total elimination of local cannabis industries in California as a result. Perhaps most importantly, if the Humboldt Cannabis Reform Initiative passes in March, other motivated, well-capitalized, angry, and annoyed local voters could use this process as a blueprint for their own cannabis repeal campaigns.